Long ago, Xiao mains lived in hope of new support. Only Hoyo releasing a 4-piece artifact set could help them, but when the fans needed them most, Hoyo vanished. 100 years have passed, and the 2.6 update has revealed a new set, custom gear known as Vermillion Hereafter. And although its attack increase is great, players have spent a lot of resin already, grinding for anything. But I believe this set can change Genshin Impact. Before I get into the specifics of either of the 4-piece sets that I'm covering today, I wanted to clarify that they both have the same 2-piece 18% attack bonus. While this is a good insurance policy if you are going to farm the new domain, it's not entirely necessary in the sense that you can already get Shimenawas while farming alongside Emblem of Fate set, as well as Gladiators from farming bosses, which you kinda need to do anyway. Vermillion Hereafter just Vermillion, is a set dedicated to Xiao. Its Nascent Light passive will give you 8% extra attack when you activate your burst, and continue to give you an extra 10% up to 4 stacks for a total of 48% when you lose health. Xiao innately activates this due to the cost associated with his Yaksha Mask transformation, and it's why he is the only current character that can utilize this effectively. The overall increase in damage on Xiao is going to be roughly 10%, but this may vary depending on the team composition. For example, if you are using him alongside Bennett, you will be getting diminishing returns on your attack gains and therefore getting a bit less out of the set. This does, however, open up some potential variation on team compositions without as much of an efficiency loss as with previous gear. You could be running a team without Bennett and therefore you'll be getting more out of this set, or you could potentially swap to an energy recharge Sans on the new set, have plenty of attack anyway, and be able to change your Animo battery for an extra Pyro or Geo support, therefore picking up Resonance to compensate the difference. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that this is the most optimal highest DPS ceiling of Xiao, but it does give you more options, and I think that's going to be relevant to some players. I wouldn't recommend it if, for example, you had a C4 Gene. There is also some potential with this set to help other units in the future. Maybe 100 years from now, when Dendro is released, we will be able to see self-burning, where you use a Dendro support to infuse your character, then combine that with Pyro, so that you can actually trigger this set reliably. However, I wouldn't say using burning above world or taking advantage of corrosion on certain floors was a worthwhile strategy, particularly seeing as you're not going to have the environment for this to be consistent. Echoes of an Offering, on the other hand, is more consistent than it first appears. Your normal attacks have a 36% chance to trigger Valley Right, and when they fail to do so, that chance goes up by 20% each time, meaning that the overall average proc rate is actually 50.2%, or about half. Now, the effect itself will therefore scale on average 35% relative to each attack, and the increase of normal attack damage is different from an attack multiplier, and is more like Yunjin's Burst, Shenhe's Elemental Skill, and the passive on Crescent Pike. It does have an internal cooldown, is 0.2 seconds at the end, which limits it from being abused like Pike with multi-hit attacks, but it does still go well with fast attacking characters that have more multipliers. This will be good with Ayato specifically because his elemental skill actually scales his health into a damage multiplier, which will then stack or multiply off with this effect, whereas it will not be as good with Yoimiya due to the fact that her elemental skill is a separate type of multiplier and won't actually apply to this effect at all. It will still be useful for Yoimiya in terms of quality of life if you don't like playing Shimenawas due to the energy cost, but it will not be more effective in terms of boosting her DPS. It has some fringe potential with Childe. His Riptides can sometimes proc normal damage, but Childe often uses charge attacks during his melee mode, and I don't think it's worth running this compared to Heart of Death when it means adjusting your playstyle in a way that's going to give you less overall DPS anyway. Overall, I think the domain would be best for those who are looking to upgrade their Xiao, although if you're also looking to farm for Ayato, then that's probably the most efficient situation you can get. Now, some people may feel that replacing their existing Xiao's gear is too expensive considering the amount of resin and time they've already put into that, and if that's the case and you have other resin priorities, I completely understand. But bear in mind you can put your current Xiao's gear onto another character. I don't necessarily think it would be worth going for the gear that's specifically for Ayato, just because you have Heart of Depth, which is alongside Blizzard Strayer, that's quite good on him. There's the possibility of putting Gladiators on him as well. You are likely better off farming other domains unless you don't have other priorities, or your Xiao just isn't very invested.